Love this podcast? Support it and sponsor today. Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
This week at Safeway, shop the 10 for $10 produce sale. With the 10 for $10 produce sale, get items like large avocados, mangoes, green, red, orange, or yellow bell peppers, cucumbers, large lemons, or 16-ounce bags of Signature Farms baby-peeled carrots for the member price of just $1 each. Plus, select meats like Signature Farms 80% lean ground beef and Signature Select extra meaty pork loin back ribs are buy one, get one free this week. Hurry in before these deals are gone. Visit Safeway.com for more deals.
Yeah, hello, Nest family. Great to have you with us, albeit in depressing circumstances around our beloved football club right now. Myself and Drew Jones have been talking about happier things like fantasy footy grand finals we've got coming up and quarantine life for him. Anything to just get our mind off the doldrums of what we're about to step into over the next 45 minutes or so. But an important chat. Thank you very much for doing so. Drewy, hello to you, mate.
Gaby.
Quarantine life. Let's start with that. What's it like in the hotel room in those four walls?
Yeah, I'm counting down. It's probably about 15 or 20 minutes until the knock on the door for dinner. So that's normally the highlight of the day. So,
what happens if you miss it? What happens if you don't get your delivery for whatever reason?
Well, they didn't knock on the door or ring the doorbell the other day. So the dinner just sat out there for like an hour. And I had to call and ask for a new delivery because I was like, it's cold. I'm not going to eat that. So yeah, there's been drama here and there. At one stage, I forgot to put my mask on when I went out to get a dinner, and I got a call warning me for my conduct. I've requested to move to a new room because there's not enough space to exercise. And interestingly, so in Melbourne, you're not allowed to get care packages from friends and family and stuff. Because they have had people sort of try to stiff the system. So my partner sends, I got approved to get some skipping rope, like a skipping rope. So that got sent through, and there was like some Tim Tams and some other like, nondescript food items in there.
Yeah.
And so they called me up and said, your items have arrived. Just so you know, we can't let you have the food because people have previously injected narcotics into different food items. And subsequently, we've had to ban any sort of food from the outside world. So people are getting high with biscuits and muffins, and that's cost me the ability to have some Tim Tams and some cordial inside these four walls.
That is so. What are people injecting like weed or cocaine into like snacks and that?
Well, you get maybe they're double dipping and saying we'll do a hash cookie and then dust it with some icing sugar, which actually doubles as cocaine or something. I don't know, but nothing surprises me, Gaby.
Yeah, that actually doesn't surprise me one bit.
People will go to enormous lengths. But day 8 today, I think. So a lot easier over the weekend with sport, and I've just started watching Mr. In Between, which I'm really excited about. So, yeah, I'm getting through, battling through.
Nice work, mate. Good on you. All right, let's get into the day. Before we get into the derby and the defeat, there's a lot to get through today. I think it's one of our most disappointing seasons of all time. In fact, I've done a top 5 Eagles' most disappointing seasons. How's that for going doldrum style on you, Drewy? But I've sort of weighed up where it sits. This campaign. We'll go through the game. We've got your Nest medal votes. They're important. They're all over the shop in terms of people's view of who was the best and who deserved the 5 and the 1 and so on. So they're really interesting. Stay tuned for that. But before we do all that, Big Willie style's back this week, Drewza. That's some good news to start. Willie Rioli back to probably face Brisbane, according to reports, which I must admit I'm a bit surprised by. I thought fitness-wise, there's no way he'd be back for AFL football at the first time of asking, but maybe that's a sign of our predicament. I very much doubt if we were going well, he would be, but at the moment, who cares? Throw him in.
So, yeah, this is interesting. It's really exciting. It sounds as though he's definitely going to play for the AFL team against Brisbane. So my view on this going into the week was maybe you save this great news story about Willie returning for round 1 next year and sort of really build it into a crescendo over the off season. But the more that I've thought about it, the more I think that it makes sense that after, we've won 2 of our last 8 games. It's been a horrible second half of the season. There's a lot of conjecture about the club on and off the field and so much discussion about where the team is at. This just distracts everyone. Like, it's no surprise that it's essentially dropped on a Tuesday morning of the week, just after a derby defeat.
Yeah,
it stops us talking about West Coast being bad, and we start talking about this great news story in Willie Rioli. It also gets it out of the way, and it's also being played in Brisbane, so it's there's a little bit less of circus about it. It's great. It's a great news story. Obviously, Gaby, you would have watched the interview that Gary Stocks did with Willie. Obviously, he's not going to ask the hard questions, but it's just nice to hear from him. And, I think he does shape as an important player for us over the next few years. So it's good to get him back in the team and getting back to life as an AFL player. And it gives him a taste of it before what is probably the biggest pre-season of his career. He needs to get himself back in the good books and get ready to play footy.
Well, first and foremost, there's a lot of us who didn't think he would return. So he's back playing AFL. For me, that's the most interesting part about all this, that maybe that's washed over or been glossed over a little bit because it's been such a drawn out process. But you could go through the archives and find many comments from many people saying he's done, be it after the first incident or after the more recent one this year when he got caught again. He's done, finished, gone. That's his AFL career. So he's back, after a couple of years in the wilderness, trying times, still only 26 years of age with a lot to offer. He's back playing AFL, which is fantastic. I'm curious to know about the fitness levels because, you haven't played any warm-up games at all. Yep, you've been training and running, but to step into AFL football, look, maybe he'll be the sub, Drewy. Maybe he comes in a sub for all we know. But to step into AFL footy without a warm-up game in that long, that's a big ask. I'd be very surprised if he's ready to go 100%, considering all that. Maybe they play him as the sub, and this is just, as you said, a nice way to get some positive news flowing through the week.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? He definitely played in a scrimmage against Fremantle in Melbourne during that little mini Melbourne hub. Obviously, that was a while ago, and certainly that's not the correct preparation to play a full game of footy. Perhaps you're right. I hadn't really thought of it from that perspective, but I guess, saying that he's going to be on the plane to Brisbane, that might just mean that they're going to put him a sub that first game back, which, I guess it's funny because you're kind of banking on an injury for him to have this great comeback. But I guess it's just a great way. That is a good way to get him back into the match day environment without overdoing it, because you wouldn't want to stick him out there and have him do a hamstring in the last quarter or something like that.
Be out of puff, half it came in and he just can't move anymore. Look, maybe he does play. Maybe he's ready. He's doing a lot of work behind the scenes. Perhaps the predicament is, listen, we need some spark. We need some good news. We're throwing Willie in, and whatever we get out of him, we get out of him because we just need something. So who knows? Whatever it is, it's good news for us. Good to have him back.
Can we do Willie's paddock and just leave him inside the forward 50 the whole game and say, Ryan Lester, if you want to peel off, mate, and get a few kicks, good luck to you. But you're going to have Willie Rioli standing there ready to go to kick goals.
Yeah, maybe. Little Willie style. So, yeah, look, great to have him back. Just excited about that. And how they deploy him this week will certainly be interesting. Right, the Derby. The first quarter demolition in the Derby. It's just, how do we rock up in a game again? We've said this so many times, of that magnitude, considering our season's on the line, and play so pathetically so early in the game against a team missing not only their 2 best midfielders in Fife and Brayshaw, but Walters and Lobb and a couple of defenders. And we put that up to start the game. It's just like, you sat there laughing, didn't you? Is this actually happening?
I certainly wasn't laughing.
I think I was at times. I was like, this is just, I can't believe it. It's become hysterical.
I was past. I think I might be past that point. I thought the first 3 or 4 minutes of the game was pulsating, like it was end to end goals, marks in the forward line, like it was so open, and it got me thinking: is that what we've done to ourselves with trying to tweak this game plan, which had fallen so far, and the ball movement was absolutely abhorrent? But did we open ourselves up? Did we go into the game trying to play a little bit more free-flowing and completely sacrifice our defensive integrity? Like, is that how you explain it? And then maybe mentally a couple of % off? But I just can't imagine how we couldn't have been switched on and pumped up for that game. So I have to think about it as X's and O's, because I just can't see how it's a mindset. Like that, if it's mindset, then it's worse than we thought.
Yeah, well, I think it is mindset. I'm not saying the players aren't focused and don't want to win, but they just aren't getting themselves to the level mentally that you need to, not only to start games, but for an entirety of a game, which we've seen so many times this season, these lapses. It's the same old story. We can't stop a surge. And the Dockers are up by 7 goals midway through the second quarter because we can't stop a surge. It's happened, it would have happened 15 times this season at least, that we couldn't stop a surge, and it's led to games getting away from us or teams making games that we had control of tight again. 15 times, I reckon, at least. I watched us really closely defensively early on when they were all over us. We were a yard slow to move in every single way. Like, I watched us defensively really closely. I'm not really watching them. I'm just watching the way we move. Stoppages. Like, you'd be a yard slow to move off the ruck tap. Then they get a bit of handball movement because they've got some clear space. They kick to a forward. Their forward would be 2 meters ahead of our defender straight away. So we're a yard slow to anticipate. Even when we were corralling, like in our forward 50 and corralling their backs as they're switching it across. I watched some of our players. They're half a yard to move and start shuffling and closing up space and getting across. It was just so apathetic. And then we turn it on and play well for 3 quarters. I mean, come on. How does that happen? He's got to get into their heads. That is a major part of the problem. The list, the game plan, yes, but you've got to get into their heads. They are unmotivated. Clearly, they are not driven enough.
Yeah, and reactive.
And in this game, if you're off like that, you get pumped.
That reactive mentality potentially comes back to also a lack of confidence in the game plan or your own ability or whatever it might be. But being slow to move can also be that you're worried about what your opponent's going to do. So, I mean, we can't get inside their heads. So we're just predicting and we're trying to speculate as to what the issue was. To be honest, I could probably handle the structure and systems failing. I just could not handle the broken tackles, which just happened time and again. And that's what really pissed me off. And, they were some of our good players that was happening to. And there's certain repeat offenders in Gaff and Sheed where it happens every week. And like it doesn't seem to get any better. And that must be a mentality thing, because I'm sure Simo doesn't rock up on the Monday or the Tuesday and say, guys, we don't know how to tackle, but we're not going to bother focusing on it this week. So it has to be a mentality thing. But that it was terrible in the first quarter. Like, there was a lot of broken tackles, and like Reddens was really bad. It cost us a goal. Jack Redden played great for the rest of the game, but that matters. Like, that stuff really matters.
Oh.
And yes, like in the second quarter, we did start putting tackling pressure on. Like, a couple of times we took guys to ground. We're doing gang tackling, like we were hitting bodies, but we're 7 goals down.
Yeah.
Like, the damage is done.
Our tackling efficiency was 30% in the first quarter, and then it finished at 90% for the remaining 3 quarters. So a third of our tackles stuck in the first quarter. I mean, that is just paltry. And then obviously they read the right act. I read the right act at quarter time, and they changed. But I mean, why do they have to be told to lift the intensity like that? I mean, that's ridiculous. And then, yeah, we played really well for 3 quarters. You know what? I thought we got some unlucky calls. We had some harsh calls against us. I thought we had some unlucky bounces. There'd be times we were in good situations and the ball would bounce the wrong way. There was the Kennedy shot. Was that a goal or not? We don't really know. A lot of these things went against us. It's the wrong goal where it was out of bounds. But when you put yourself 7 goals down at quarter time, those things are going to happen. The same as the Melbourne game with the bad decision late. You can't rely on everything going your way for the rest of the game because it's never going to. So you just can't put yourself in a position like that where you've got so much ground to make up and so little margin for error.
Yeah, I've felt that it seems like we're not getting the rub of the green lately. But like I've always said, just in life, that you make your own luck. Yeah. And ultimately, like, the ball's not bouncing our way because like we're just not doing all the right things. So I think we just have to live with that, unfortunately, as supporters. You know, we maybe West Coast have, you know, we've been up for so long and we've had things go our way previously sometimes, but this is, at the moment, we're not in that phase. So you talked about it being one of the most disappointing seasons in history.
Yeah. Can
you remember being so dejected watching a West Coast team?
Well, a couple of occasions. Well, one occasion, really. I'll go through them now. So that was my emotions as the game. My first quarter, I remember messaging mates going, we're a really bad team. And then as we started getting back into it, and I thought we're still going to lose, even if we win, you know, still so many bad signs there. That was the emotion that came to me. This is one of the most disappointing seasons in Eagles history. With the talent that we've got, making finals or not, doesn't matter, whether we scrape in or just miss out. To be beaten that easily over the entirety of a game and in periods in games, as often as we have this season, with that much talent, with that many premiership players who are still in their sweet spot, that's just hugely frustrating. And that's why it's right up there for me. So do you want my top 5, Drewy?
Absolutely.
Okay. So I reckon our worst season ever is 2001, the second Ken Judge year when we finished 14th. That was similar to this year where the team gave up a lot. And I've spoken to former Eagles and they've said, look, we were just not on board with Ken Judge at all. Not on board. And there were divisions at the club and he tried to change things from the Malthouse era. That happens in many sporting clubs. You're following on from a successful coach, the new coach coming in, tries to change things. It doesn't work when the playing group's still there. So they just weren't on board with it at all and went to water a lot. But how they finished 14th, I don't know. But there were some terrible teams that year, you might remember. The Dockers didn't win until like round 20 or something. St Kilda were useless. There are a couple, there are others. Well, there are only 16 teams in fact, so there you go. St Kilda and Freo were terrible and somehow finished below what was a deplorable West Coast Eagles team. So that's our worst season ever, I reckon. Winning the wooden spoons, always pretty bad. So even though the players tried really hard in 2010, you finished 16th. Well, yeah, that's probably going to trump it. I reckon it's our third most disappointing season of all time. I've got it as third. You know, late 80s, we were just building as a club. We had a bad season in 89, but early days, make the finals every year in the 90s, even in the late 90s when we didn't really challenge. We always fought hard. Then the Ken Judge years I've spoken about, things picked up as soon as Woosha came in all the way through until, 2010. 2013, we finished 13th. I've got that as number 4. And then number 5 all time, I've got 2008, which is when we finished 15th, when the bottom fell out of the club after Cuz, Juddy, Kerr, etc. had all Cuz and Juddy had moved on. 2004, Woosha's final season. That's our 2013, Woosha's final season. That's our 4th worst. So I've got it as our 3rd most disappointing season of all time in Eagles history.
Yeah, I think that this is the most talented AFL team to miss finals since 2009, which is when Hawthorn missed the finals off the back of the flag in 2008. I just can't remember a team this stacked with, premiership players, good players who obviously missed out on that flag and then, having stocked up a couple of times to have a crack at a flag, to fall this far short and to play so clearly below their best. It's just hard to imagine how it could have gone any worse, to be honest. I mean, like you look back at the season and there's not even that many games where we've actually played well. But we beat Port Adelaide. That was a really good win. I think we actually played pretty well against the Bulldogs in round 2. Obviously, the Richmond game was a success, but there's been most other games.
The Carlton game was a good performance.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the Carlton game with the youngsters was a real surprise and a real highlight for us. So that Carlton-Richmond sort of fortnight, that was probably the high point of the season. But just few and far between, and to lose the way that we have in some games this season, it's un-West Coast like, and maybe we're spoiled. Every team goes through it at some stage, but I'll try and give you some perspective. I wrote about this today on the Patreon. We are riding the roller coaster of the AFL, and we've been blessed at West Coast that sometimes we've been able to stay aboard a bit longer, and maybe the lows haven't been as low, and there's been plenty of highs. But we look at all these different clubs. St Kilda, let's say, for instance, under Alan Richardson, their peak, the top of the roller coaster under Alan Richardson was 9th. And then he gets sacked and they have to start again. The top of our roller coaster has been finals appearances, 2 grand final appearances, a premiership. And, it's still possible that we'll get back up there under Adam Simpson. I've still got confidence that he can reinvent the game plan and freshen up the list and we go again. So there's a lot of different arcs that AFL clubs and teams go through and go on. And we've had the rub of the green as far as, well, not the rub of the green. We've earned the success, but the roller coaster ride has been a generally pretty thrilling and pleasant one. And you look at other clubs like Carlton and Melbourne, and you understand that it doesn't happen that easily. And then you look at Geelong and you say, well, they've missed finals once since, 2006 or something. And that's the exception. It's not the rule. When they've put together, as far as, Bomber Thompson and Stephen Wells, Brian Cook, and then Chris Scott, they've been able to put together a hierarchy at their club that's led to success. And yes, they've drafted well through Wells and they've managed the club well through Cook, and it's been well coached by their 2 head coaches. And West Coast have been able to do something pretty similar, not to the absolute same high standards, but in Worsfold and Simpson, we've had 2 great coaches, and Nisbet has run the club, mostly to a really high level. Craig Vozzo's been excellent in his various roles at the club as well. So the building blocks and the bones are there still. And regardless of what happens next, if we have to ride the AFL roller coaster going forward, then so be it.
Yeah. And the problem that I think Eagles have with this season is that the dip wasn't meant to come now. The dip shouldn't come now. It shouldn't. I don't think anyone said we had to win it this year. But the dip of this magnitude should not have come now, not in the manner of the performances. And now we're talking about rebuilds potentially and shaking things up and moving some players on. And it just wasn't meant to happen this season. And I think the coach hasn't had a good year. He hasn't had a good year clearly in terms of getting through to the players. That's obvious. He has to take some responsibility for that. You talk about motivation, you've got to look at the coach. He hasn't had a good year with the game plan because that's been exploited. He hasn't had necessarily a great year with selection. That's befuddled Eagles fans at times, especially in the second half of the season. He made that one comment about the private schools and all that, which didn't go down well either. Just hasn't had a good season in line with everyone else, and that can happen. And pressure does crazy things. I work closely in soccer circles, and I speak to A-League coaches, and it may not be the same microscope as the AFL, but they tell me, like, when they were under pressure as coaches, they look back and they're like, I made bad decisions because of what pressure did. Like, I look at some of the team selections I made, I'm like, the pressure just got to me. It does. So he needs to just have some time off and rethink his approach as well. He goes into the season under pressure to figure things out and formulate a plan to get us out of this.
Yeah, and look, I think in some ways there's a part of me that's excited about seeing where we go next and what we do.
Yeah, there is that.
And hopefully, if the club makes some good decisions, then we'll look back and say, God, 2021 was shit, but, it led to this. Like, is there a question without notice here, but I posed it again in the Patreon today. Is this the derby defeat we had to have? Like, we've won 11 in a row. We've won 11 in a row. We came up against a team with a lot of young players with their key guys out, and they still beat us. Like, they showed us what the difference is. Like, those players are motivated. They're bought into the game plan. They love their coach. They're building something. Like, that's a reality check we possibly needed. Like, there were still a lot of people that thought that we would trounce Fremantle.
Yeah, I mean, I thought we'd win. I really thought we'd win. I didn't think we'd trounce them, but I thought we would win. Look, it says a lot about them. They're building beautifully. There might be some Eagles fans who can't stomach the thought of Fremantle. I'm not really one of them. I just don't look at Fremantle in that light. Maybe because I grew up at a time when we dominated them so much that I actually felt sorry for them and I wanted them to do well for WA footy. So I don't look at Freo in that light. Kill to lose to them, but you can't help but like what they're doing with their young players who are passionate about their team, who play exciting football, and the most likable coach in the AFL in Justin Longmuir. Like, bar none. And I think everyone enjoys watching him go about it. So it says more of the fact that the run of defeats is over about where they're going. Whether it was the defeat we had to have or not, I think missing finals may be what we need more than, say, the derby defeat, because that will put a shock through them all. Wow, we've actually missed the 8. Watching finals next week, how are we not there from the position we were in with the players we've got? All right, now we need to really look at everything. And there may have been a chance, and I don't think they necessarily would have, but it's possible. There may have been a chance that they, would have buttered things up a little bit and looked upon certain things more favourably than they should have, because we just scraped into the 8. And I think Adam Simpson's a great coach. Love the man. I think he can get us out of it, but he's got an enormous challenge. And maybe just missing the 8 gives everyone a big shock and puts everyone on notice to assess things in the most complete manner imaginable.
All right, I've got something else I want to put to you, but before I do that, we should clean up on the game. So we lose by 15 points. A couple of things didn't go our way late. Like, we got to a point where I believed that we were going to win that game. And I said to you on WhatsApp during the last quarter, I was like, this could be the greatest derby of all time. Like, the back and forth in the fourth quarter, in the lead,
a great game.
Yeah, in the lead up to Sarong kicking that goal, which obviously shouldn't have been a goal, but that's the way things go. But the period of play that was just back and forth, players clearly tired, making mistakes, but putting their bodies on the line, like it was awesome. So, hats off to West Coast for at least knuckling down, getting themselves back into the game, getting the game on their terms. It was a funny game, wasn't it? Andrew Gaff had 32 disposals, and God, he was in everything. But did he help us in our quest to win?
I didn't think so. No, I didn't. I think our biggest issue personnel-wise is having a real look at Gaff and Sheed in the midfield. I think that's where we get exploited a lot with their lack of pace, and the other way. They can both use the ball well, but you've got to be pacey both ways. And no, so I don't. I look at his possession count, and I wasn't swayed by it at all. When we got the Ness medal votes coming through, and there was a big fluctuation in terms of where. In fact, I'll say it right now. This sums it up. Gaffy got 2 5 votes and 4 1 votes, and nothing in between. So that sums up the way he was viewed. Some people looked at his game and thought, yeah, really good. Others went, he just scrapes in for a vote. And there was nothing in between. So I don't think he helped our game that much. Same with Dom. Brad Shepherd didn't have a great game. He's had his worst season in probably 6-7 years. there's a few of them there, but you've got to address the lack of midfield pace, I think, because you just get burnt too easily by young players coming through with SIP.
Well, he had 1 or 2 possessions about halfway through the second quarter. Like, he was really quiet early. And I guess that's somewhat symptomatic of him maybe being sacrificed out of that midfield group with having, say, Shuey back. Kelly going off probably helped Sheed. Obviously, we know Kelly's now out for the season with a knee injury. Again, I mean, he's been unlucky. Twice he's injured his knee in, like, freak accidents, like Shuey falling on his knee on Sunday. Kelly looks to me like, and I think what we've learnt over this 2 seasons with Kelly is that he just needs to be playing. He's he needs rhythm. So
he does battle with tags a bit. So Bailey Banfield tagged him, and he battled a bit to get through that, and then he was starting to get going, and then he cops an injury. That's an issue for him as well, and it helps when you got the full midfield back. But where do you sit on that lack of pace in midfield and Gaff and Sheed and what you would do with them, Drewy?
Look, I've probably changed my position on Gaff a little bit. I think that we possibly should look to trade Gaff if we can.
Yeah.
And if we could get a decent return for him, I think he's more useful elsewhere in a team that's contending who needs run on the wing.
Yeah.
And if it suits him to go back to Victoria and we can get a decent price, then I think perhaps that's the best move. And then you have maybe Sheed play on the wing and then just have Luke Edwards as well. And then you just lock in those two as your wingmen for the year. And then that allows you then to juggle with the mix in the midfield a little bit. So, I mean, I still think that a move for Shuey to half back, I don't think that's the worst idea. And then you have Kelly's your big dog in the midfield, and then you've got Sheed, you've got Redden,
Yo.
And obviously Yo's going to be our sort of defensively minded guy. And then ideally, we want a youngster in there, don't we? It's just a question of who, whether we draft someone with pick 8 or 9, who, whatever we end up with, or whether it's, X or whatever. But we need to invest in something new in the midfield for sure.
Yeah. Gaff gets that shuffle on this season. Have you noticed that? Happened from the start of the season, which I don't think he had in his game before, where he's running back or he's chasing, and it's like this hunched over shuffle. And it doesn't look like his body's right. I think he might be in the Patrick Cripps mold potentially, whether his body's getting the best of him a little bit. He's on very big money. He just doesn't seem like he's got any fluidity in his movement at all, and that's a big one. I mean, maybe he's carrying something that the club's kept quiet, and he can have surgery in the off season, and he comes back better than ever. Hey, we've seen Taylor Walker and Josh Bruce, who people had written off going into this season, bounce back and have really good campaigns. So sometimes a good summer can change things up, but you do worry that the body is getting the better of him and he's not going to be able to match the money that he's being paid. And therefore they should look at trading options. It may suit all parties. It may suit him as well. So yeah, that's the big one for us to address in the off season. Some positives then, Drewy. Do you want to do it via way of votes? I want to focus on 2 players before we do that. 2 players before we do the votes. Alex Witherden and Tom Cole. They were great to watch. I loved their games on the weekend.
Well, they're in my votes.
Yeah.
It was clearly Witherden's best game for the club. And I just love Tom Cole. I just love everything. Nice. I just love everything that he does. And he was particularly good. I think I've said this before. I just trust him. But when the ball goes near him, no matter what, I trust Cole to make the right decision. I know he's going to put his body on the line for the team. And if he gets beaten 1-on-1 or whatever, so be it. I've just loved what he's brought to the team, and I'm sure that Simo and the rest of the playing group love him as well. So, take me back 4 or 5 years, I probably wouldn't have predicted that Tom Cole would be one of the first names on the team sheet for us. But I think he's proven himself to be pretty reliable in no matter what role you plug him into. It was good to see Witherden. It's probably the best game of footy he's played since about 2019. He had a tough year last year at Brisbane. But at his best, he's an elite AFL halfback, and he showed some signs on Sunday that he'll be that for us going forward, which we're going to need if the decline of Shepherd and potential retirement of Shannon Hearn happens.
An element of Tom Cole's game that's underrated. We've spoken about how good he is defensively and how smart he is and how quick he is and strong he is. He's a very good kick. Do you notice on the weekend how many times running at pace he chiseled the ball onto someone's chest? It's not easy to do. Like kicking it 35 metres, to someone open in space. Every AFL player should be able to do that. But run at pace through traffic and have to hit it 20 metres low to someone who's running hard so you can't loop it. He's very good at that. He's an underrated kick, Tommy Cole. And that's a part of his game I really liked. And with it, and we know that's his strength, there was a passage of play late where he bit one off into the middle of the ground. And I remember messaging you saying, Witho has to stay in the team. And I was like, there's no one else in the Eagles apart from maybe Shannon Hearn who can execute that kind of kick. No one else in the team. And that's why he's so dangerous for us. Maybe McGovern can. Pretty good kick as well. That's why he's so dangerous for us. And I really enjoyed that. That was a nice positive to come out of the game. Some of the negatives, Jack Petruccelli, I don't know how he stayed in the team. He had 11 possessions, didn't kick a goal or a behind. Jackson Nelson, only the 9. They'd be hard-pressed to stay in it this week, you would think.
Yeah, I think we know what we're getting from Jackson Nelson, and I'm comfortable with him in the team if he has a.
I like Jacko
as
well.
Yeah, I'm not gonna kick Jackson. He wasn't drafted thinking he was going to be an All-Australian superstar, but he's got the trust of his teammates and the coach. So I've got no issue with him being in the team. I don't think he played particularly well, but he wasn't alone. Petruccelli's just he's been a frustration for us all season, and he probably will be for the rest of his career if he remains at West Coast. Like, he's played some good games this year. He's had some absolute stinkers and a lot of very average ones. So, I don't know I'm just not sure it's working at West Coast.
I don't know how you can keep getting selected when your output is so low. And there's other players like Zach Langdon. There's some who don't like Zach, and I get it. He can't kick the ball more than 45 metres, but give me his cleanness with his hands and his endeavour and his desire any day. Like, I'd much prefer that, because at least you're going to get commitments and a want to get the ball.
Yeah, Zach had a funny day, didn't he? Like, I think he dropped a mark that he should have taken, and that would have been a shot at goal. He would have kicked a goal, but the siren went maybe at halftime. He had a couple. Like, remember, he got clearly interfered with by a player not looking at the ball. Like, he just got dragged down and front on contact and just didn't get a free kick. Like, there were just a few weird moments for him, and it just
he had 5 tackles.
5 tackles and 1 possession. Yeah.
Yeah. He had our 5th most amount of tackles, and he came on as the sub.
Yeah. Well, and halfway through the second quarter or half time or something.
Yeah. So our 5th most amount of tackles, and he came on at half time.
So, that's what he does.
Yeah.
And
I'd prefer him in the team for that reason alone.
Yeah. Well, we can't all be Liam Ryan. We can't, you got to have some guys doing the dirty work. And that's what Zach's made a career out of at AFL level. And I assume that's why we got him. So, he's holding up his end of the bargain. And if he improves as a, pure footballer in his time at the club, then that's good. That's what we want to happen. So, yeah, there's a few guys with major question marks. We've been down this road before. And so the votes from the game, I gave 5 to Jack Redden. I thought after quarter time, he was just in everything for us. His running power, he was clean with the ball, didn't try to do too much. He's tough, and he's been one of the positives of the season for me. I wasn't sure quite where he sat at the start of the season, but he's been one of our most consistent players through the whole year. So 5 to Redden, 4 to Witherden. We've talked about him, but he was excellent. I thought Nick Nat was influential again, as he has been virtually every week. So 3 for him. And then 2 for Tommy Cole. And it's the best 0 goals 3 performance I've ever seen from from Jamie Cripps. He got his teeth knocked out. And he came back on and continued to tackle and chase and harass. Sometimes he's not the most polished performer, but you can't question his guts.
Yeah, I like his game. I like Liam Ryan's game as well. I went 5 for Yowie. I just thought over the 4 quarters, he was probably our best. I actually found the 5 really hard to give. There were a number of contenders for votes. I just couldn't work out who our best on ground was. So I gave it to Yowie for his ability over the course of the game. Redden 4. He missed a couple of tackles in the first quarter, Jack Redden, which I thought that just knocked him down a little bit for mine. He bounced back really well after that, but a couple of big tackles early. I was like, geez, that really hurt. But still the 4. I gave Tommy Cole the 3, Witherden the 2, and I gave Liam Ryan 1 vote, actually. So counting up all your votes, Jack Redden was the clear winner with 57. He gets the 5. Alex Witherden gets the 4 with 25. Well done, Witho. Nick Natanui got 3 with 22. Elliot Yeo got the 2 votes with 16. And Gaffey squeezed in for the 1 with 14, just beating out Tommy Cole, which I was really upset about, to be honest. I almost fudged it, Drewy, to get Tommy Cole in, but I wouldn't do that. So Gaffey gets the 1. So updating the Ness Medal leaderboard, Nick Natanui raised the bat. You're up to 50 votes. So smashing it. Tim Kelly on 31. Jack Darling on 23. Jack Redden's now moved up into 4th on 22 votes after his 5. Tom Barras, 21. Dom Sheed, 21. Andrew Gaff, 21 with his 1. Elliot Yeo up to 18 with his 2. That means, Drew, that going into what's more than likely to be our last game of the season, Nick Natanui has won the Ness Medal. Tim Kelly is guaranteed 2nd in the Ness Medal, assuming we don't play any more games. But then 3rd, the podium can still be shared between or won by any of Jack Darling, Jack Redden, Tom Barras, Dom Sheed, Andrew Gaff, and Elliot Yeo.
Yeah, well.
So that's what they're talking about in the sheds this week. Who's going to claim 3rd in the Ness Medal?
They've got a lot to play for this week, don't they? I mean, let's be honest. We're not going to play finals. We're not going to beat Brisbane, and likelihood is that Essendon should beat Collingwood. So it's an interesting game. Do you think the players are going to be motivated for this game?
Yeah, I think they will. I think to finish off the season strongly, they'll probably go in with the attitude like, just put it all into winning. Might be our last game, even if we do win. So leave it all out there. Yeah, the worry is if we have one of those lapses again, which I think is more than possible against a team that's got a lot to play for and is going all right at the moment and is one of the premiership contenders, that we get blown out and then they just drop their bundle again. That's the worry.
Yeah, I've got concerns about this week. I mean, I hope to be proven wrong. But to me, it's been a horrible season and, it's been a poor season, below expectation. And it appears that motivation and effort has been an issue for the whole year. So why should we expect any different this weekend?
Yeah. All right. So what changes would you make for this week? What do you want to see happen to the team for a game that needs, and a team that needs a little bit of shock therapy to hopefully go there and cause a massive upset?
Well, I enjoyed Luke Foley's game on the weekend. I know he didn't get a mention, but I thought he had one bad moment when the game was sort of pretty hot and on the line. But other than that, he was pretty solid. So let's make sure we get the youngsters in the team. So Bailey Williams has got to come in for Vardy. There were times during the game where I was like, geez, I'd forgotten that Vardy and Petruccelli were even playing.
Yeah.
They were so anonymous. So I think Bailey Williams, just get him in. Vardy goes out. He's been a good servant to the club. He's got a premiership, but that this is the way we're moving. And then, do we go down the Xavier O'Neill road again? I guess he can't be dropped at least if he comes back in this week because there's only one game left. Another game under X's belt, couldn't be a bad thing, surely. I'd probably like to see Jake Waterman play. I think Kennedy possibly misses with that finger. So perhaps Waterman comes in and plays up forward. So Williams for Vardy, and then we lose Kelly, don't we? So if it's not Xavier O'Neill, then who comes
Connor
in?
Connor West, hopefully.
Yeah, yep, Connor's in the mix for sure.
I was surprised he was dropped for the Derby. I couldn't understand that. I didn't really get it. I think he would have been really valuable in that game.
Well, Hutchings and West going out, that is what surprised me. It was like, so we went from 2 hard nut to none.
Let me ask you this. If Mark Hutchings sits on the player we discussed needed tagging going into the game, the source player, so Caleb Sarong, do we win that game?
I mean, it's possible that we wouldn't have been down by 1,000 goals at quarter time. So yes, it's quite possible. If West or Hutchings had have played a defensive role in the first quarter, then things probably would have been slightly different. Yeah,
I mean, there's lots of elements to the tag, and it squeezes other players out, and I get all that, but like they might have, I don't know, just if Hutchings' selection simply came down to Brayshaw being out of the team, I didn't say it, but I thought it because I rate him so highly. But Caleb Sarong is that good. Stick him on him, and they can't get the ball out. They just can't. Or on Mundy. You can run with Mundy easily.
Well, Mundy had 7 score involvements in the first quarter.
So, and then you put Brayshaw and Fife out, you clamp on another one. They're starting to run out of men then who can damage you. Oh, I just didn't understand that. And then West out as well. I mean, put West at half forward and you're going to get 100% effort the whole time. Okay, he may not have the speed as Petrocelli or the goal smarts, but at least you're getting run and effort and tackles and link-ups and things like that.
Well, hasn't Adam Chera had 30 possessions and 2 goals in the previous 2 weeks leading up to the Derby?
Yeah.
So I thought, I just thought at a minimum, it's like, well, it sort of worked for us when Hutchings had played. We won that game. He played against St Kilda, and then he shut down Oliver relatively well. So it seemed like it was working, and certainly, West was doing his job. Maybe not as prolific as the first couple of weeks. So anyway, it's all water under the bridge now. I mean, Hutchings might get a farewell game.
Yeah, I think he's still got another year.
You reckon?
Yeah, because who knows? Maybe not. Maybe there's just the list is getting too old and they're going to move some other players on.
Well,
yeah, could do.
Well, I'll tell you who the West Coast out of contract players are if you'd like to hear the list.
Yeah, I think we could do a bigger discussion on them maybe next week or the week after, but yep.
Stand by, let me find it. So out of contract at the end of the season, Ben Johnson, Ainsworth, Archie, Venables is already retired, Redden, Jermaine Jones, Brander, Rotham, JK, Duggan, who will re-sign, Foley, Hutchings, Vardy, Hearn, and Xavier O'Neill.
So I've got 3 guaranteed departures. That's Ainsworth, Archie, and Vardy. Guaranteed. The rest, not sure about.
Yeah, well, I mean, that doesn't...
Maybe Hutchings, maybe JK retires.
Like, that doesn't leave you a lot of room.
Yeah.
Like, for a team that claims to... Well, we say there needs to be some sort of rebuild.
Yeah, I reckon Ainsworth, Archie, Vardy are gone. Yeah, and then maybe Hutchings, and then JK's up to him, what he wants to do. Hopefully he stays on for another year.
The good thing about the way that the lists are constructed now is that we can have guys training with us if they want to play on and just say, look, we can't offer you a contract right now, but we can, you're in the mix. Like, you can take it a bit further. Depending on what you can do at the trade table and at the draft. So, yeah, there's a bit of flexibility and there's a state of flux towards the back end of the list. But anyway, I think that all stemmed from the Hutchings sort of farewell game. You don't think that's going to happen?
It could do. No, it could do.
I mean, Dane Zorko and Hutchings seems like a pretty, that seems like a smart move for trying to win this game.
Zorko or Lockie Neal back? I think he is.
Yeah,
Lockie Neal.
He dominated last week.
Yeah, Zorko or Neal or Jared Lyons, who's winning a truckload of it.
So
Any of those three.
Yeah, there's definite options for it. I mean, Brisbane are a great team. They haven't had their absolute best year, but their best football is really good.
Quality. So anyway, I reckon Vardy out, Petch out, Nelson probably out, maybe not, maybe he stays in. Kelly obviously goes out. I'd like to see West in, Hutchings in, Brady Williams in for Vardy, and then, does Langdon come in? Rioli goes to sub. Does Rioli come in? Langdon stays sub. Something with those two as well. But that's what I'm looking at. Waterman, if JK misses out, Waterman probably comes in and plays as a key forward, or maybe Harry Edwards comes in and you push Oscar forward because he played back last week, and I thought he did pretty well actually. Oscar, it was a shame that he didn't play forward because he looked good. But obviously that was needed for matchups. All right, Drew, that was pretty comprehensive, mate. How much longer you got to go there in quarantine?
It's still a while. Next Wednesday morning, I'm out. So, yeah, time's moving very slowly in here, to say the least. So I've got this big weekend of footy ahead. We've got our fantasy grand finals to cheer for, and then I'll be ready to rip into some finals preview stuff for Fox Sports News by the time I get out. That's for sure.
Beautiful. I'm playing for $4,000 in fantasy grand finals this weekend. So if there's a possession that happens that I don't see, I'd love to know about it, because I reckon I'll be glued to every single game. There's that much on the line.
You're gonna have to dual screen because there's double up games, I think.
Yeah. Well, I'm calling Brisbane, Carlton GWS on Saturday night. So, there'll be some emotion in that one, particularly when Sammy Walsh gets around it, because he's been my main ball winner all season. So, it's a game to look forward to, that's for sure, Drew. A weekend to look forward to. Hopefully the boys can have a win and maybe things fall our way. I very much doubt it. Either way, there's plenty more to talk about off the back of it. Good luck for the rest of quarantine, mate. I hope you manage okay. Thanks to everyone for listening. Hopefully we go out with a bang one way or another. Plenty more Nest episodes coming your way, though, for the remainder of the season, that is for sure.
This week at Safeway, shop the 10 for $10 produce sale. With the 10 for $10 produce sale, get items like large avocados, mangoes, green, red, orange, or yellow bell peppers, cucumbers, large lemons, or 16-ounce bags of Signature Farms baby peeled carrots for the member price of just $1 each. Plus, select meats like Signature Farms 80% lean ground beef and Signature Select extra meaty pork loin back ribs are buy one, get one free this week. Hurry in before these deals are gone. Visit Safeway.com for more deals.
Love this podcast? Support it and sponsor today. Simply head to AuscastNetwork.com for details.